African lady.
To Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Once again, it is time for Talking Points. My name is Sheldon Scott. I'll be here with you up until the 10 o'clock hour. Sometime during tonight's program, I will be attempting to reach leader of His Majesty's Opposition, the Honorable Emlyn Pear. Yeah, this time I did speak to her, but we're still in positive on the time, because she's busy, so we'll try to get her. Yeah, nice, yeah.
Like the King Solomon and Sheba. Yes, the King man love you forever.
When you see what that tropical depression that was passing, that dumped some rain on the Antilles, on Grenada and St. Vincent and St. Lucia and Dominica, etc., when you see what that has become now, you have to say, wow, thank you, Wow. Yes, folks, I was watching the DMs with the PMs. I did see it, yeah. I did hear and so on. So I'm looking forward to Friday to hear what will be said in relation to that particular issue. And I'll leave it at that, yeah.
Land of roots and culture.
So I do know that it was said that the request was made since August. So you see, when I said that I am absolutely sure the request was not just made and made long before, I knew what I was saying, yeah. We are also hearing that there's now on the table as well a request again for Grenada to take people who have been deportees from the United States who are not Grenadians. So these are people from other countries who are being deported, and the request is that Grenada take them. The request is that I don't know what the request contains, but we heard from the Attorney General that the request was that Grenada take some of these people and so on. So they'll explain. Yeah, it's in the government hands. All I'm saying is that is what was said. I ain't going further than that. Nice. So as I said, we will be getting in contact with Leader of His Majesty's Opposition, the Honourable Emlyn Pear, during tonight's program. I see various people messaging me about the DMs, the PMs, and what he said. The thing is, he spent all the time talking about other things, and it had to take somebody. I think if you have your finger on the pulse of Grenada, you would know that that is the question everybody wants an answer to. That is the issue that most people are interested in. And I think that the first thing you should have done is deal with that particular issue and get it out the way. But they had to leave it for somebody had to call and ask the question for a semi kind of thing resembling a response to be given. But again, as I said, me have much to say and awaiting. Let us hear what is said on Friday, right? So wait and see. Nice. So let us hear what is said on Friday. Nice. Yes, indeed. So, as I said, we in the holding position. We're waiting to hear from a Leader of His Majesty's Opposition. Yeah. Meanwhile, folks, I still see a lot of persons complaining. A lot of people have been complaining about the cost of electricity and what they've been going through. Have been bombarded. Yeah, because I know sometimes we try to assist. Well, when people assist here, we try to assist elsewhere. Right. So that's, yes, that is what the little $5 and $10 does go towards, trying and assist. So I've been bombarded by several people who they just can't. Yeah, and I'm speaking about people who are unemployed. I'm not just going to go out there. No. There are people who are unemployed, been trying to get employment, and so there are children involved, and they are at their wits' end because electricity is about to be cut off and all that sort of thing. In some instances, electricity has been cut off, and then so they have to pay that and reconnection fee and all sorts of things. So we have that situation that is taking place with a lot of folks in relation to the price of electricity. Yeah. And some folks are afraid to see, they're afraid to see what the next bill is going to look like, considering what the last one looked like. Increased by a couple $100 in many instances. So many folks are afraid to even see what the new one is going to look like, much less the last one, yeah? Let me say a special good night to the folks out there in Mamakan. Atiba.
Jinga, jinga. Teach them to play the drums. Teach them. Alafia.
Hail the eye, man.
Mama Mary, where you gone? So many sons and daughters.
Yeah, and good night to the King Man himself, King Man Ajamo. So, folks, there will be a sitting of the House of Representatives that will be taking place on Friday, and we're hearing that statements will be made there. So, we will wait and we'll hear the statements there, yeah? And let me just say a special good night to all of you joining us via the various mediums. Those of you joining us via the YouTube. Those of you joining us via Facebook. Those of you on We Noise Radio, and indeed those of you listening via One Soca Radio out there, both of them out there in Brooklyn. Good night to all of you listeners. I think I'll touch one more jam. I wonder if it's one or two. Let me touch an extra jam with it, man. And let me see who is on the live. Good night to Maxan Francis, Landon Jane, Ingrid Bourne, Yvonne Courtney, Rhonda George. Good night to you, Dillian Pierre, Leslie James, Betty Ann Venter, John Mark, Sherry Lambert, Shemi Joseph, and Nurse Wendy McGuire. Good night to you. And I see Anastasia Peterson, Joan Henry, Dr. Colette Williams, McLean Mitchell, Wallan Akwat, Tegwa. Good night to you. Charmaine Ragba Singh, Pamela, let me see, Pamela Hackett, Norma Roberts. Good night to each and every one of you, yeah? Let me say a good night to my good friend, Mr. Clifton Paul. Pablo!
Something fresh
Up there in Roseville. Good night, bro.
this morning.
A former member of Parliament for St. Patrick East, yeah? My good brethren.
I'll scream and shout, what's the matter? She asked me what it's all about.
And let's see who's on the YouTube.
Burning deep within my soul, and this feeling I just can't control. I don't know if it's real, but I want to tell the world how I feel. You should love thy neighbor as thyself, I say, and put an end to violence today. Help your fallen brother by.
Yes, remember to love your neighbor as thyself.
We will see a brighter day. Neighbor.
So good night to you, Vanessa Lalji, Rosalind Jones, John Staffen, Dalton, Sean, Kathleen Ledlow, Alban Harris. Alban! Good night, bro. Faith Lynn, Hallie Douglas, Wilfred Antwine, Marilyn Ferguson. Good night to you, Veronica, Lois Alexander, Agnes Henry, Anne-Marie Grant, Cynthia Bartholomew, Claude Abraham. I see Bernadette Phillip. Good night to you, Cindy Thomas. Good night to you, Mrs. Watts and Mr. Watts. Good night to both of you. Jackie Raymond, Gillian Williams, Ashma Charles, Angel Mapp, Angel. Christine Alexander, good night to you. Andra Burke, call Andra already? Yeah, good night to you, Andra. Ruth Thomas, Anna Lewis, Kathleen Knights, Janice Mitchell, Joyce Lewis, Cicely Celestine, Sherma Jeremiah, good night to you. Ron Julian, good night. Christine Otley, Maud Martin, Jerome Lewis, good night to you. Antonito, Anastasia Peterson, Amanda Moses, Carp Spice Fitness, Stephen Simon, good night to you. Canis Peters, Marilyn Panchu, Bernadette Joseph, I see Lucy Joy Mancini, good night to you, my dear. Ontario is in the house. Yes, good night to you, Dr. Julie Dubois. Salam, I see you there. Good night. Jacinta Alms, Red Girl Pascal, Alcy Peters, Fitzroy Philip. Good night to each and every one of you, and hope that you all have been having a fabulous night tonight. Yeah.
A time like this, it's not yet too late. We could break down the barriers.
Yeah, I can't block the phone line, so I cannot take your calls right now.
You should love.
We need to leave the phone lines open because we have to speak to the leader of His Majesty's Opposition, the Honorable Emlyn Pear. So I cannot take your phone calls right now. I can't block the line. Nice? Yeah. Sorry about that. We could talk after. We can't talk before. Nice?
Neighbor, 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 love thy neighbor. Neighbor, 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 love thy neighbor. Mush it up.
So I just got that message. So I'll be connecting with leader of His Majesty's opposition in a short while, yeah?
No more violence and crime this morning, this morning. It's reconciliation time this morning. No more jealousy and grudge this morning, this morning. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours this morning. Greed and envy will be no more. Dishonesty, oh baby, show it how to do. Disrespectfulness must get a blow. We must try our best and let
And folks, remember to hit that like button.
time come. I know for sure our days will be long.
Yeah, like and share. Those of you on Facebook, like and share. And folks, I believe we've made contact with the leader of His Majesty's opposition, the Honorable Emlyn Pear. Good night to you, Honorable Pear.
Good night, Sheldon. Good night to your listeners and those who are not just at home, but I would say in the diaspora. I'm sure you have a good following there as well.
But a load of them, it's plenty out there. Honorable Pear,
I can only imagine.
I know our time is limited, so I want to get into the questions quickly. The first one, you've been having a series of meetings around the island. I know that tomorrow night, all roads lead to the St. George Methodist School in town of St. George. How have these meetings been going? What has been taking place with these meetings? Seeing it online is one thing, but you as a person who's actually there, how have these meetings been going?
Extremely positive. And I'm speaking in terms of persons from the various communities that we visit, the different constituencies who have been coming out for these meetings, not just coming out, but participating. The energy level has been extremely high. The panel of speakers, of course, we've had not just caretakers, but we normally would have other caretakers who would come in to join the caretaker from the particular constituency that we're in. And of course, I think you would agree with me, every time we do this, we have a very dynamic list of speakers on. A good blend, a perfect blend. I always like to call it a perfect blend between experience and competent, youthful energy of young people. So we have our new caretakers and we have our experienced caretakers who have been there for quite a long time, well experienced. And so when you merge that together, addressing the issues of national concern. And I always like to say this, it's not just about talk. When we go out there, we are fulfilling our responsibility as an opposition. We are representing the voices of people. So you would be amazed, Sheldon, the number of people who call us on a daily basis to say, when you go to the next meeting, address this. Sometimes the list is very long and you just can't, because the number of issues, the number of people. So this for us is also an opportunity to hold the government accountable and to let them know the issues that people are facing. So I get very concerned to make this additional point. When people seem to be saying that we should just stay quiet, don't say anything, just observe wrong things and don't say anything, observe things that are not going right and don't say anything, then we would be abdicating our responsibility as an opposition. We have a responsibility enshrined in the Constitution to hold the government responsible and accountable. We also have a responsibility to present ourselves, let people know why we are the alternative. So we have a responsibility to represent people, and I think these meetings have been an excellent opportunity to do exactly that. And the numbers continue to be high in terms of persons viewing, in terms of persons attending, and of course, what we're experiencing right now. So it's very evident that there's a level of fear in our society. And one of the ways you can tell is when you go to these meetings, people are hiding on the corner. Apart from those who are brave and bold and understand their rights, and they come to the front and they openly present themselves, but you have those who stay on the corner and say, we're listening, we're with you, right? But we can't come closer because we fear for our jobs, right? And this is so unfortunate in 2025, when democracy should be alive and well. We just celebrated a year ago 50 years as an independent nation, and we ought not to be in a place where people are afraid to practice their rights, constitutional rights. So those meetings have been going extremely well, except for that particular point that I just raised. And I just want to thank all those persons who have continuously support these meetings, those who make it their duty to tune in on Wednesday nights, and all of those who have been working extremely hard, because I'm sure you'll appreciate it takes a team to get this at the level and quality. So they're a team of persons who are performing different roles every night to ensure that this works in the way that it does.
Okay, moving right along to the next question, because this one is a question that I've had for you for quite a while now. The Age for Civil Responsibility Bill. The throne speech, during the throne speech, we heard the Governor General stating that the government intends to bring this bill back to Parliament. We don't know when it's coming, but we know that the government within this session of Parliament intends to return to Parliament with this bill. One, you have been having sessions as leader of His Majesty's opposition, so the leader of the opposition's office have been carrying out meetings in relation to this particular issue. I think the last one I saw was in St. Patrick. I think you all were. Along with various other speakers. I think Miss, how do you pronounce it, Lafayette? I saw Miss Cassandra
Johanna Lafayette,
right? I saw as well Miss Cassandra Mitchell, Bishop Devon Rocher. I saw him at one of the sessions. What has been the general response from folks in relation to this issue? And secondly, the government, on holding the bill, did say that they would hold consultations regarding it. Have you heard, been informed, or invited to any consultations regarding the Age for Civil Responsibility Bill?
So, as far as I'm aware, the government has not had since then any public consultations on this bill. And I think this is absolutely necessary. I challenge the government to go to every parish in this country, every constituency, a bill that has such far-reaching implication. It's necessary to have the consultation that is needed to get the people's involvement in this very important process. The sessions we've had thus far, they have been organized through the office of the leader of the opposition. So the parliamentary team planned and coordinated, and we involved stakeholders. And that is why you had the representatives who spoke at both consultations. And we are extremely concerned, still very concerned about this. And we are not going to stop until we hear from the government that this bill is not coming back to Parliament. Now, to do so would be to ignore the voice of the people, because throughout the length and breadth of this country, I have not heard persons so vocal about a bill taken to Parliament as they have been on this particular bill. And I'm not just talking about people who are sympathetic or supporters of the NNP. Even persons who are strong supporters of the NDC, some of them have spoken to me and said in no uncertain terms that they cannot support this bill, right? Even if they are staunch supporters of the NDC. And so the government needs to listen to the voices of the people on this particular matter. This is serious, it is dangerous, and the government needs to stop to ensure that the people are consulted with on this. And as I said before, we will not sit by and look at this bill that came to Parliament pass and become law in this country.
Okay. We've heard about that bill, but there's another bill that is causing a lot of consternation in the state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique right now, and that is people's electricity bills. I mean, I've seen folks saying that, okay, they used to pay 200 and something, now it's gone past 500. You have others who were paying somewhere around 90 something. They're now being forced to pay 200 plus. And there seems to be no end in sight. In fact, I think I saw a document a while ago which was pointing towards further increases as of the 6th of October, further increases in the electricity bill to Grenadians. Your views on what is taking place there, considering all that was done in the past to restrict the cost of electricity to the average Grenadian?
This action definitely confirms that the government of Grenada doesn't care a bit about the rising cost of living. And it was really beyond me to even try to understand how, in a time like this, when every time there's a CPI, a Consumer Price Index report, it is showing, it is a document coming from the government of Grenada, and it is showing in every gazette that the cost of living continues to rise, consistently so, right? What I'm not understanding is, having that knowledge, you make a decision that you're going to allow an increase in the cost of electricity, an absolute necessity, not just for households, but also for business. Now, back in the NNP days, when we implemented a program to help families to connect electricity, it was about understanding not just that we're in modern times, but understanding how important that is for a student who have to study at nights, right? Understanding how important that is for the very operation at the home level, right? Things have changed. And if you're telling me that you have a home in a particular community that has no electricity in 2025, this would be kind of odd. I mean, yes, we do, but you want to move away from that. We're developing, we're advancing, right? So what we did back then was to support families to connect electricity to their homes. Now you have some of these families being disconnected because they can no longer afford the cost of electricity. But there's another side of this that I want to quickly touch. Now, if you go back to what the NNP administration did, because we have to accept, and nobody has argued this fact, that in Grenada, we don't always have control over the increase in the cost of certain items. And that goes hand in hand with what is called imported inflation. So if the cost of fuel goes up internationally, we are not isolated, we are not exempted, so it means it would increase here as well. So we're not arguing that, because sometimes when you speak, the first response is, well, it's going up in every part of the world. We know that, we accept that, we appreciate that. And it went up in every part of the world when the NNP was in office. And the question is, what did NNP do? That's the pertinent question. What did NNP do back then that NDC could do now? And one of the things that was done was to reduce 25% cut on the levy on electricity, right? 25% reduction. And so it meant that if you are reducing the cost to the consumer, quite obviously you are cushioning, you are helping them to cope with the cost of living, because that 25% reduction meant that they have to take less out of their pockets. So we don't have control that the cost of fuel went up. We don't. But we can do something to help people to be able to still afford to have electricity connected to their homes, right? What we are seeing is the complete opposite by this administration. And this cannot be an administration that cares about people, because the opposite is not even to say you're going to leave the cost where it was when you came in 2022, right? So they reverted back to the original, right? But now you're taking an additional measure to increase further. And we are saying that this cannot be a government that understands the plight of the people. Because to keep your electricity on, you may have to reduce the amount of food you can buy, the amount of traveling that you can do, the children who might not be able to go every day to St. George's to school. It has implications, right? Because you might be stuck between the decision to leave the electricity on for the child to do the research on the internet at nights, right? You might be stuck between that and that child being able to have 3 meals per day. I'm just drawing reference that one thing affects the other. And what the government should be doing right now is to ensure that we keep the cost of electricity at a rate that people can afford, right? And let me just make this additional point. Back again to the new National Party's time in office. Now, you recall what it was like when government made the decision to buy over shares in Grenlex so that government can have majority shares. You remember what that was like. And I'm making sure to make this additional point that at that time, everybody had a voice. No one was afraid to talk. No one was afraid to express themselves. No one was bullied and victimized for talking and expressing their views. So there were many persons who felt that that was a bad decision. Well, you see, when you make a decision, what's important is to understand what's driving the decision. What is the motive? And what was the motive? One of the primary motives of that decision was that government wanted to be in a position to be able to determine what kind of support in situations like that can be provided to ordinary citizens, to businesses, right? When it becomes a total business venture that government has no say, government has no influence, think of what happens to the people. Think of what happens to businesses. So there are businesses who have been significantly affected. Production cost would have risen significantly, and in some cases struggling to survive. Can you imagine what it's like for them now with a further increase in electricity cost? The question is, what are you doing to businesses? Are you stifling the ability of businesses to survive in an environment that is already not conducive for their success, right? And so we would wish that government would consider all of these things. The It's strange. It's extremely strange. Very strange. In a time like this, government having majority shares in an electricity company would make a decision, would be part of a decision to increase the cost of electricity. And, think about it. Basic utilities, the cost of water under this administration was also increased. I don't know if it's lack of sensitivity, I don't know if it's lack of understanding of the reality on the ground, but when you decide you're going to increase electricity costs, increase the cost of water, increase the cost of sugar, then right there you're literally putting a bullet in the head of ordinary citizens, of businesses, right? You're basically trying to kill business. And I always like to use the example because sometimes people think that you just speak for speaking's sake. I walked into a store in Grenville months ago, and this is months ago, so you can understand the relevance to now, right? And the store was literally in dark, right? There was no one in the store except for the owner of the store. And when I got in there, he put on one of the lights. So I asked him, I found it was rather strange. And so I asked, and he said he's just trying to manage the cost of electricity. He cannot afford to keep the lights on all day. And he pulled a drawer and he showed me. This was about 1 o'clock. And he said for the entire day, I only made about $25, right? So things are tough, things are rough out there, and to make a move like that, to take an action like that, to me, you can't have a conscience. You cannot have a conscience. And I don't want to believe that you just said that there's a possibility it might increase. I pray that this does not happen.
From a document that I'm seeing there, it seems as though that we might be going with a further increase as of the 6th of October. So this is not speaking about the bills that people are complaining about. This is for the next set of bills. Even an increase in the cost for renewables. So it seems as though we're going down that road. At a point in time, people already are complaining about what the present situation is. So we spoke about that, but you mentioned speaking about the electricity, the consumer price index. And once again, we've just seen about 2-3 weeks ago, there was another consumer price index that came out again, continuing to show increases in significant areas. Everything from clothes to your children to basic food items continue to increase. And now with the move by government, whereas the section in relation to electricity and so on was sort of stable, we're going to see significant jumps in those areas as well by the time we see the next CPI coming out. What have you been hearing out there from some of the families? I know you've been all around the island from Carriacou and Petit Martinique right down to Point Saline. You've been moving around. What are some of the things you've been hearing? I know what it's like when you enter that supermarket and you think you're going to be leaving with a trolley, but you leave with one white bag. So and a plastic bag at that. And it's costing the same of what you used to fill a trolley with. What have you been hearing?
It's real. It's real. And what we've been hearing, Sheldon, every part of this country, people are struggling to cope. People are struggling to cope. They are struggling to put food on the table. They are struggling to buy basic medication. They are struggling to meet their needs, right? And you know what is painful about this is, well, I've been in this field for 20 years. Others have been there for longer. And their report is the same as mine. That since they've been in politics, it is the first time that certain persons have been coming forward seeking assistance. Imagine this. Imagine someone who never needed you for the last 20 years will now come with a very basic request because they are definitely unable to cope. Someone who has always been independent, never ask a politician for anything, never ask a government for anything. Even people like that right now are struggling to cope. So you can well imagine how others might be faring at this time. And we continue to say, the cry of our people is so loud you cannot miss it except you're deaf. You have to be deaf to not hear what's happening out there. Or I would say you have to be absent. So far away enough that you cannot hear what's happening on the ground. Now, there is need for an urgent intervention. And I'm saying an urgent intervention because we understand that some of these items that have gone up significantly, imagine an item that has gone up by $10 between 2022 and 2025. Just imagine, right? Imagine an item that has gone up by $30 between then and now. And this is no joke. There's some medication that has almost doubled its cost between then and now. So the question is, what should a government be doing in a situation like that? And I don't want to recommend anything that is beyond what this government can do. I am just going to stick with things that were done before, so you have a reference point, right? You're not reinventing the wheel. There's a reference point and there are best practices. So what did we do when electricity cost was spiraling upwards? And not because of anything that was done locally, but because of external factors, right? So we know that wars in the world can cause the cost of fuel to go up, and then electricity price cost locally goes up. We know that. So we're not even having that argument. We are saying that there are things that could be done locally to help cushion the effect by reducing the cost. And I just made reference to a 25% reduction in electricity bills. The second thing is that you want to have programs that target those who are most affected. So who are the persons most affected in times like these? And what can we do to help them? So you can target, for example, struggling businesses, right? And when you look back, you've seen the many programs that have been done to support businesses in times like these, right? In times of disasters as well. Then you want to look at your productive sector. So we have a problem here, but maybe if we do something on the other side here, it could help to trade off, it can help to reduce the impact. And these are the things you have to be considering. So in a time like this, what can we do to stimulate economic activities? What can we do to boost production? Look at the productive sector, agriculture. What can we do? So for example, if you look at the numbers in tourism, what has happened in the first quarter of this year? What has been happening as a trend? The numbers have been going downwards. Stay over visitors. What does that mean for hoteliers? What does that mean for the guy who is selling coconuts by the road? What does that mean for the restaurant where the tourists would go to eat? What does that mean for the person who's making a straw bag? You have to look at it as not just that your numbers have gone down. Okay, let's look at what do we do to increase the numbers next year. No, you have to look at how this has impacted negatively people at all levels. So you may say, okay, let us do something for vendors, as was done in the past, right? Let us probably pump some additional resources in agriculture. Let us do something to give farmers. There are farmers, Sheldon, who since 2022 they would tell you they have not had their farm roads maintained, and in some cases they are struggling to access their farms, right? Now, how is that able to help in the current situation, right? And so I am saying that there are so many things. There was a $10,000 investment in single parent households at one point, with the hope that you're going to support these families, you're going to get them to get through whatever tough times they're going through because you understand their vulnerability, right? There are so many things that government can actually do. Look at the issue of VAT exemption, and that's probably one that you want to be able to manage, of course, because you can't you can exempt every item, right? You cannot put too many items in the back because government needs to continue to operate and they need the revenue as well. But have you reviewed that? Have you reviewed that? Are there other things that can be done to help support the consumer, right? And as I mentioned before, businesses as well, because they're also experiencing difficulties. So the measures, the actions that you take, and as I said, there's a list of actions that were taken by the NNP administration. And if this government would just go back just to that, I'm not asking them to do anything additional or new. Just go back to the measures that were taken by the NNP administration, and I would say that would be a good start, right? You remember when the cost of gas at the pump was going up? At some point it went over $15, and we understood. Government met with the bus association. You know what? When I met the president of the bus association recently, and some of his other executive members, they reminded me that this capping of the gas was something that they advocated for. But when they did it, they advocated for busmen, bus drivers. You understand? But when the decision was taken, it was for everybody. Because we understood, the government at the time understood that it wasn't just the bus drivers who were significantly affected, but people with private transport were also significantly affected, right? And it is the reason why people would park their vehicle in Grenville and take the bus or take a ride to go down to St. George's. Well, that has its advantages as well. But some people just could not afford, and some people right now just cannot still afford the cost of fuel, right? So the government can take action. And I find it very strange that there has been no new measures since last budget, no new measures, considering that the cost of living has been increasing, and the government is aware because the CPI, the Consumer Price Index report, is coming from the government.
And again, one of the listeners has just sent to me, said a gallon of thinners, that's the thinners for when you're painting and so on, that was $40. It's now $70. Lacquer, what they use to do when they're doing varnishing and so on, was $112. It's now $238. And that is affecting the business that listener is into. And you have other instances of the same taking place with many other people. And you mentioned the hotels a while ago. And when you have decreasing numbers of overstay visitors, yet the cost of electricity, I would only imagine what the cost of electricity for a hotel for a month looks like. Considering they have to keep on lights, nearly every room is air conditioned, and the other equipment that they have to operate within the hotel, the televisions and all these things in every room, and they must keep on lights throughout the night. So I could only guess at what the price of electricity is for them. Then the price of the food that they have to provide for the people who are staying at the hotel, that is going up. So while the amount of people that are there are going down, the cost of operating is going up, and they're gonna have to shed the weight somewhere, and most times it's in the staff. They have to cut staff.
The implication, it's a ripple effect. So it's not just, as I said, stay over visitors would have decreased. Let us do some more marketing. Doing more marketing is one thing, but there are so many people who are affected by this. And so if you just take, for example, let us say a family where you had a senior citizen, and that person used to get the additional $150 that government under the NNP would have provided to that individual for the same reason, recognizing the increasing cost of living. These people have medication to get, they have to feed themselves, etc. So you gave an extra $150 to that family. Now, consider this. That family lost that $150 because it was removed by the current administration. And people deny this, but there are people all around Grenada who can confirm that they used to get an extra $150 and they no longer get it, right? So that's a fact. Now, so consider that person lost that $150. Could you imagine if that person had one person employed in that home, and that one person would have lost their job either because the owner of the business cannot afford the additional cost of the increase in minimum wage, the increase in electricity. So there are so many things that are affecting businesses out there, but we can't look at it in isolation and say it's just affecting the business. You're absolutely right when you speak about the people who are employed. How many of them can they keep when their wage bill is going up, their electricity bill is going up, and now these families working in this establishment, their bills are also going up at home. And then on top of that, they're losing their jobs as a result. I mean, is someone in government observing what is happening? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're aware of what is happening. And and I'm saying I'm not sure. I know they are aware, but I'm saying I'm not sure they are, because how could you be aware and be so cold in your response? How could you be aware and refuse to do something about it? And the response is going up everywhere. We know that. It has gone up everywhere before, as I said. But we are talking about here, that we need to do something here. We need a caring government that would respond to the needs of people. Similar, another example, when the NNP administration provided $10 million in stimulus support for the people of Grenada in a crisis. So I always make the point, and it's not a point that I created, but it's a known fact. If you study leadership, one of the best occasion, one of the best time to judge leadership is in a crisis, right? And if you look back at the New National Party administration and how the NNP functioned in a crisis, how its leadership functioned in a crisis, you have to be at least fair to give credit where credit is due. So if you look at how the NNP administration handled COVID, handled Ivan, there are persons who were extremely upset with NNP for some of the regulations and restrictions, etc. But when you look back now and you compare what we were able to achieve during that period, when you look back and to see how we are dealing with this current crisis, look at how we dealt with Ivan, look at how this administration is dealing with burial, and then you understand leadership is seriously tested in a crisis. And this administration is failing terribly. The cost of living crisis and the burial crisis.
And with the time running out on us, I know I have 7 minutes remaining with you. There is the question where Grenadian fishermen, as of the 1st of January, will be unable to send any fish to the United States. Your view on what is taking place there? We're hearing it is due to the present administration not fulfilling a requirement of the United States, one of the United States agencies, and now the fishermen are paying the price. And as we know, especially for places like Petit Martinique, for instance, who nearly their entire economy is based on the tuna trade. And you have places like Guave, St. John, and you have even Sobiza and Marquis. And you have other areas that are based heavily on fishing, and not so much for the local market in some instances, but the international market, which the US is the largest market for them. Your views on what is taking place and what ought to be taking place?
I'll start with sharing an experience I had in Carriacou. Going around with the caretaker for the New National Party there, Senator Nolan Cox. There was a particular young man, fisherman. I mean, you could have seen his countenance. You could have seen I would say he looked depressed. But you know what I noticed? He was very interested in hearing from Brother Cox on this particular subject. Because remember, up till that point, there wasn't a word from the government of Grenada at that point. And I'm subject to correction. I still don't believe they've been to Carriacou and Petit Martinique to meet with fishermen there yet. I won't be surprised. Now, that gentleman kept asking question after question after question. Some of the questions Senator Cox couldn't answer because obviously he's not in government. Mm-hmm. Those are questions that the government should have been there to answer. But I could have seen the fear. I could have seen the anxiety. I could have seen the depression. And after the conversation, I drew it to Senator Cox's attention. And when he related to me that this is somebody, and you see, sometimes we don't look at the correlation. We don't look at how one thing affects another. You know what he said to me? He could just imagine what is happening with this particular fisherman, because this is somebody who may have taken most of his savings to rebuild his house after Hurricane Beryl. Because of course there was no support from the government for him. He waited and waited and waited, and he decided, okay, he's going to take whatever he has. So now imagine, and when he did that, there was no news about this ban. So he's doing this hopeful that he's going to be able to recover this, that he would be able to take care of his family, because he don't anticipate that there would be any such thing on the horizon. So imagine you have $5 in the bank and you're in a crisis, and you take that $5 and you spend that $5, and you did so with an understanding that by next month you'll make it back, or by month after you're going to make it back, and then you lose your job the next morning. Mm-hmm. You see, this is how we have to view these things. And then if you view it that way, then it is likely that it's going to prick your conscience into action. So this is what I would want for the government to get down on the ground, listen to these stories, interact with these people, understand their situation, and as I said, hopefully their consciences would be pricked to the point that they want to do something. So we have not heard anything significant from the government as to progress on this. But I'm going to be prayerful and hopeful that they are working aggressively, not just to negotiate, but also to take the necessary actions that have to be taken. Now, a few days ago, I was making a comparison between the NNP administration and the NDC administration. And one of the things that is very obvious is under the NDC, there is a need to know basis on which people get information. Mm-hmm. Under the NNP, every Monday, Tuesday morning, there's a press conference. And if something happens in between that and people are talking about it, people are concerned about it, a press conference is called, right? Because the government understood the importance of having information and keeping people abreast of what is happening. So in this situation, if it was the NNP in office, I'm quite sure maybe every 2 weeks there would be an update. This is what we have done so far. This is what we are waiting on. We have done X or Y or Z, and we are hoping that by so and so time, we should be ready and prepared to resubmit for review whatever has to be done. We've taken certain actions, we've met with who, and we've met with who. Absolute silence on this matter. So right now, can you think of the anxiety as we get closer and closer to December? So sometimes just for people's peace of mind, information is important. So what are we saying to fishermen? That by December we would be completed with all that we have to do? Well, if so, at least let them know that you're on stream. Let them know that things are in process as they're supposed to be going, and we anticipate that by so and so time X or Y is supposed to happen. I'm saying this to say the silence is deafening.
Indeed.
People don't know what to expect, they don't know what is happening. But you know what? This seems to be the modus operandi of this administration. It is not just to do with the fishermen and the pending ban. It's to do about most things that people are concerned about. So there's a national issue, there's a crisis. People are talking, and the government just decide we're not answering, we're not saying anything. It's like my grandfather used to say, to hell with whatever you want to think, whatever you want to believe. We have nothing to say. This is not how you manage a situation like this, because you want to reduce fear and anxiety. You want to reduce doubt. One fisherman, I remember him saying, I'm not even sure what to do now. I don't know if it makes sense going out, because if you get a catch and you don't know if you'll be able to sell, the doubt that exists, all of that with information can be seriously reduced. So government needs to update fishermen as well as the general public. Where are we as of today with addressing the concerns of the US and putting systems and structures in place? Where are we? But secondly, government should have already done a serious assessment. How is this likely to impact fishermen? What kind of impact is it already having? And what kind of support can we give to fishermen in this particular situation? Because this is serious, This is bread and butter. This is livelihood. And I'm not sure how they're viewing it. But these people, they have families. They have loans. Could you think of a fisherman who has a loan with the bank for his trawler, for his boat? Can you think of that same fisherman maybe having a daughter in university that he was paying, or in some tertiary institution? Can you think of how this thing might be affecting this person, right? Psychologically and otherwise. So it's not just the physical, right? And that is why there needs to be, and you could look at that, extend that to even burial, as we on Carriacou and Pitimatnik specifically here. You're talking about, what is it, more than a year now? This hurricane has passed, right? And there are businesses that are still in the same position as they were the day after the hurricane. People who have been promised support, and they are still waiting. So you don't have an income coming in, and you just don't know where you're turning from there. Where are you going from there? People were promised financial support, and they've done everything that they had to do. Everything that was requested of them, they did it. And until now, more than a year after, there's been no information in some cases and absolutely no response of support. And that's not just for businesses. That's also for people as it relates to house repair, rebuilding of their homes, right? And so this administration seems not to be connected with the reality on the ground. And as I'm saying houses, I also want to make the point that if you're talking about the government's response to the housing situation that they said that they were going to address, let us be reminded that we have hundreds of units that were donated to the government and the people of Grenada by the government and people of China. And those were supposed to be low income housing units. That people who were not able to purchase a house cash was supposed to be able to benefit from. So people who are not supposed to be able to access a loan from the bank should be able to benefit from these units. Now, I am very disturbed that reports are indicating that people who don't even live in Grenada have been able to purchase some of these units, while people who live right here don't have a roof over their heads, are begging. People in Carriacou who are still wetting are begging. And I'll give you a quick example of a situation I had when the Subi's housing scheme was
Honorable, I just give you a reminder of the time because I do know that you have another
I have
important
a meeting.
engagement.
Yeah.
So I'm just giving you a reminder of the time. But go right ahead.
Yeah, and I'm paying close attention. So I'll wrap with that. So this lady came to me and she said to me that she wanted a unit because where she lives, it's close to the sea, and she was fearful what would happen if a hurricane is coming. So she wanted that unit just to be her personal hurricane shelter, right? And after I explained to her the number of people that did not have a house at all, so she had a house, concrete house, right? And when I explained to her the number of people who did not have a house at all and why it wasn't possible that she could have a unit as a hurricane shelter for herself, she said to me she never thought of it that way. Right? She never thought of it that way. All she was thinking, if I could get a unit there, that would be great. And so leaders have to be able to make the tough decisions to say, we would love to give units to our daughters and our sons in the diaspora. That's great that they have a place. If they come for carnival, they can use, or they have a place that they could rent out. They can do business. That's a great idea, but it cannot be a great idea when persons right here are wetting. Persons right here do not have a shelter. They're going from house to house, as we would say, taking a lodging. That something has to be fundamentally wrong with this. How could you even consider it, far less to do it, right? And then you have the Project 500. Help me with the correct name for it.
Project 500?
That's the name?
Of the housing project, yeah, the housing thing.
Right.
Was Project 500.
It's 500 per year. 500 per year. An absolute failure that after 3 years you can't even get one off the ground. And I'm saying off the ground to the point that you can present the keys to a family. This is a disgrace. So we're supposed to be on 1,500 and we have not yet handed over not one. And then another disaster is the Build Back Better project. A real disaster. Outside of the photos and the ops and the few keys that are given out. So if I have 10 or 15 units that are complete and I give out the keys, that's all good. That's great. But if I gave out 15 when I had monies to do 200, then that's still a failure, an absolute failure. And so, Sheldon, I'm saying that this administration, I don't know what's another way to say it, but after 3 years going to your fourth year, you have not really settled down and get this thing right. I'm not sure if you ever will.
Indeed. Honorable Emlyn Pear, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and to discuss these various issues. We know we have a lot more issues to discuss, so we're looking forward to you being on with us sometime during the week, next week, if possible, because we know how that schedule goes. And we look forward to seeing you at that meeting tomorrow night in St. George, the town of St. George.
Of course. And I want to take the opportunity to invite all of the residents of the town of St. George to join us there for this meeting. We provide information. We ensure that we update you on what's happening in this country, and we continue to do our duty as a responsible opposition.
Indeed. Thank you so very much, Honorable. I know you're running off to that next meeting.
Have a good night. And good night to your very loyal listeners.
I'm sure I heard our phone beep about 3 times while you're
yes.
talking.
Have a good night, Sheldon.
All
good
right.
night,
Thank
listeners.
you so very much. Yes, indeed, folks. And the Honorable Emlyn Pear over the during last week was actually out there in Jamaica. Yeah, and interacting with young people in Jamaica and so on as well. So, folks, we're going to open the phone lines, give you the opportunity to call. We still haven't set it up in a way that we can have you interact with the person that we're interviewing. We have not been able to do that. But somehow we're going to try to see how we get that done one of these days. So the phone lines are open. You can call 1473-440-7377. Fadu, I saw you were asking about the paternity issue as regards the age of civil responsibility. And yeah, folks need to know this is what the government is trying to pass. They are trying to pass legislation that if you suspect that a child is not yours, you've been taken, let's say you've been taken to court, as we just say, they bring you up for maintenance. And they bring you up because it's up on the hill, so they bring you up for maintenance. And you, in your heart of heart, believe that the child you're being brought up for is not yours. The legislation they're trying to put in place will bar you from being able to get a DNA test to prove the paternity of that child, to prove whether or not that child is yours or not. So you'll just be stuck into having to pay. Yeah, but they would remove your ability to be able to find out if the child is yours. We have a caller online. Hello, good night.
Good night, Sheldon Scott.
Hey, good night, sir. How are you doing?
Yeah, I love Miss Emily Pear talk. She talked so tonight.
All right.
Oh God, that will be the next Prime Minister of Grenada.
Yes, man.
Yeah. And good night, Miss Kami. Good night, Miss Naj. I know she listening. Good night to her. And tomorrow I'll be down at the stadium tomorrow. I'll be there.
At the stadium?
Yeah.
Yes, at the St. George Methodist School, not the stadium.
Yeah.
But the St. George
Methodist
Methodist
stadium.
It's close.
Yeah, Methodist School, sorry.
Yeah, you don't people go to the wrong place. All right, my brother.
Yeah, St. George Methodist School. Sorry for that.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, indeed. 1473-440-7377. That is the number for you to call and get onto tonight's program. Yes, so as I was explaining there, yeah, you won't be able to go and check on the paternity of that child. So you may very well find yourself having to go and pay every single month for a child that just turns out not to be yours. Is that fair to the individual who has to go and make the payments? Is it fair to them? Is it fair to the child that the child is growing up believing that person A is daddy? Through a court order, they're believing that person A is daddy, only to find out otherwise afterwards. Is it fair to the child? Is it fair to even the mother? Is it fair to her? Because she may have her suspicions but not know for sure. Is it fair to her? Is it fair to the child? Is it fair to the man that has to have his salary garnished on a monthly basis in order to make those payments. Yeah? Is it fair to any of them? We have to ask ourselves these questions, because this is what the government is trying to impose on us as Grenadians. And they've already said in the throne speech that they're coming back with it, so we can't avoid it. We spoke as well a little while ago about the situation with the fish. And remember, let me get the exact thing right now. The government of Grenada has exactly 2 months and 11 days, or 72 days, before that fishing ban is imposed on Grenada. So they've already said as of the 1st of January, that is exactly 72 days from now. So they have 72 days to put together information that they did not do in a whole 3 years. They now have 72 days to do that, or 2 months and 11 days to be exact. So this is the situation that we find ourselves in, and you have people who made their sacrifice to get their vessel and to hire the crew. Yes, they had to hire the crew. Crew ain't working for free. You have to pay them too. So they've got all of that, and now they may even have fish that they may catch. They don't know if it's to go out. Should they stay in during the month of December, or even in November? Should they stay in? Does it make sense? As the Honorable Emmeline Pierre was just mentioning, does it make sense? Because then they may find themselves with a lot of fish on hand that they can't sell. So is it fair to them? And I think a lot of times that's the question that's not being asked. When something is happening, is it fair to them? Is it fair to the consumers of Grenada to have that situation where the cost of electricity continues to go up? And somebody messaged me a while ago and said, well, Sheldon, cross your heart and hope, because right now it might end up with load shedding because they have problems with generator and all sorts of things. Massa Bull Massacre is government, and again, who that Grenlec under which person again? The Prime Minister? Who just happened to have been in a prior life, happened to have been the lawyer for the same Grenlec, yeah? When they were under WRB. So that's the situation that we find ourselves in here in Grenada at this point in time. And somebody sent something to me a while ago, and I'm just trying to get it back here. Yeah, that's the situation we find ourselves under in Grenada right now. So we need to oh boy, let me play this one for you all. Let me just quickly play this one for you all. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Nice. Yeah, let me just quickly play this one for you all. Hey, well, you send anything small, so hey. What kind of mouth is that? Hey. Let me see if we can get anything to play proper. Nice. Nice. Let me just get the audio there. Nice. Play.
Go about why am I sounding like I'm tying myself up? Okay. You mentioned in terms of on Friday you would give a briefing to the public on the situation regarding, and I'm sure that is what's making the rounds practically everywhere, every talk show, every social.
And folks, excuse the size of the video. It's how I was sent it a while ago. I'll have it fixed by not by the end of tonight's program, but at least for Thursday's program.
Media platform, that is the conversation regarding the U.S. request, and you did say you would make a formal announcement on. Would it also include what the response would be?
No, it's ready to provide an update. Nothing much has changed since the Ministry of Foreign Affairs indicated that we were considering the request. We are still doing so. It is a technical matter that requires a lot of technical people to provide us with guidance on what it is we've been asked to accommodate. And so it's important. The public became aware of this through media reports, and we responded. But this request was made since August. We're in October. So if we were in a position to make a decision, August, September, October, and if we wanted to rush to do so, we could have done so. So the fact is that.
So since August, right? Since August, Now hold on the phone line there. Since August, let me get that part again there. Let me get that part again there.
Technical people to provide us with guidance on what it is we've been asked to accommodate. And so it's important. The public became aware of this through media reports, and we responded. But this request was made since August. We're in October. So if we were in a position to make a decision, August, September, October, and if we wanted to rush to do so, we could have done so. So the fact is, and that's why I think it's important for people to appreciate, whether it's the United States or any other regional country, there are always requests for us to cooperate on any number of areas, particularly when it comes to things like security. So for example, if and I'll give an example between Grenada and Trinidad, there are always instances where we will ask the Trinidadian authorities to cooperate with us in deporting people or providing intelligence on people. There are times when the Trinidadian government will ask us. We will have to consider those requests and say yea or nay, depending on the nature of the request. So when it comes to policing and security matters, there are always, whether it's Coast Guard, whether it's the police, whether it's the civil aviation authorities, whether it's the Ministry of National Security, there are always ongoing requests that we consider. I'll give examples. We've had requests where in the past, the French, for example, will ask us for permission to be able to board a vessel carrying a Grenadian flag somewhere up in the Northern Antilles. Because it's carrying a Grenadian flag, it means its jurisdiction is Grenada. If we say no, they're not able to do so. If we say yes, they're able to do so. It could be for drug interdiction, it could be for human trafficking, it could be for any number of reasons. In this case, the request that is provided has a certain context. It is a request from the U.S. Southern Command from a military perspective. Grenada has no military. So it is not something just right off the bat that we're familiar with. So that immediately makes it a different type of request, which is why we have to consider the pros and cons of whether we agree or not. And that is essentially what we are dealing with. I appreciate that.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the fact that early up we were told by the former press secretary that information would be given on a need-to-know basis. That's around what we were told, that information would be given on a need-to-know basis. Because speaking about something that is so topical in Grenada, the request was made in the month of August. Yesterday, we are finding out, well, the majority of us are finding out yesterday, that a further request to that request has been made regarding sending deportees to Grenada again. So that request has been made again. We were not told when that request was made. If it was made, maybe that one may have been made in July or June or somewhere there, because the way that they're operating right now, it seems as though everything is need to know, and they're talking about transparency. But only after a story was leaked in the regional press, and then the government itself was forced to issue a statement and respond to it, is when we know that this thing has been happening. Remember, it was Times Caribbean or one of them, they released the story regarding the approach by the U.S. authorities. And then the Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a release. But that would never have happened. In fact, we may have gone to the end of the year. We may have seen people coming, all sorts of things, and we don't know what's happening. Because we, the Grenadian people, were told absolutely nothing. It's only because it leaked that we get to know. Now we are hearing from the Prime Minister himself that request went back since August. Yeah, since August that request has been in.
We could have done so. So the fact is, and that's why I think it's important for people to appreciate, whether it's the United States or any other regional country, there are always requests for us to cooperate on any number of areas.
Now you have to go a little bit back here, yeah.
Doing so, it is a technical matter that requires a lot of technical people to provide us with guidance on what it is we've been asked to accommodate. And so it's important. The public became aware of this through media reports, and we responded. But this request was...
The public should not have had to come to be aware of this through media reports. The public should have heard this from their government. As the Honorable Emlyn Pear mentioned, when it's the new National Party, you had press conferences every week. Not once in a blue moon, not every 3 months or so. You had press conferences every single week. On a Tuesday morning, it's post-cabinet press briefing, where the nation was informed of the decisions that came out of cabinet and also about various other issues that the government has information on and would like to pass to the Grenadian people, to let people know there are programs that you could become involved in, to let people know that we're facing A or we're facing B or we're facing C. But at least that the new National Party administration spoke to the people of Grenada each and every week. And if they miss, sometime they might miss it on a Tuesday, they would have it later in the week on a Wednesday or a Thursday or so on. Yeah? Or if it's a particular time of year, you may miss something, but generally, you had a post-cabinet press briefing each and every week. You're not supposed to hear about something like this from the media, because that's what he's saying. This only came to light because of the media. Something like this, only came to light because of the media. Not because your government said to you, or had a press conference and said to you, or not because your government decided that, hey, we need to let Grenadians know A or B, only because one news agency got a hold of the information and released it. Yeah? And that's the whole situation.
It is, we've been asked to accommodate. And so it's important. The public became aware of this through media reports, and we responded. But this request was made since August. We're in October.
So again, let's hear it again, yeah?
Became aware of this through media reports, and we responded. But this request was made since August. We're in October. Became aware of this through media reports, and we responded. But this request was made since August. We're in October. So if we were in a position to make a decision, August, September, October, and if we wanted to rush to do so, we could have done so. So.
My goodness. Anyway, listen, all the phone line's open. 14734 14734407377. That's the number for you all to call and get onto the inside of tonight's program. 14734407377. That is the number for you to call. It's not surprising to me. I told you all that more than likely that thing came in long before. We have a caller online. Hello, good night.
Good night, sir. Calling from the Nutmeg State here.
Nutmeg. How are you doing, sir?
Good.
All right.
I have in my possession here a report from the Justin Pierre predictions. Four ministers will lose their seat. Now, who is Justin Pierre? Do you know a Justin Pierre?
He is a person who works with polling and that sort of thing. He has worked in polling and so before, but I've heard of I've never met him. I've heard of the individual.
Okay, so you have seen that article, right? Have you?
Yes, I have.
Where he says Chotai, the guy from Carriacou on these two St. Patrick seats are in the hot seat. And so on. I don't know what gave him that indication. He said he did a survey that these four ministers. I was in New York. I was in Brooklyn over the weekend, and in a Grenada thing. And for St. Patrick's, it's not. There are a lot of dissatisfied people from St. Patrick's. I'm from St. Patrick's, and a lot of dissatisfied people with Cornwall. And so these two I could see, yes, but on the personally, let me say what I think about this raider. I will vote yes. If you ask me, I will vote yes to have America do that, because America has a lot of base all over the world. And America protects their bases. Okay, so we don't have to worry about Venezuela. Venezuela, yes, they help Grenada, but Venezuela is not utterly nice to the neighboring. Venezuela want part of, Guyana. Venezuela took part of Dominica. Venezuela is a hostile country, and if we say yes to America with certain conditions, we need a lot of things in Grenada. We need a lot of stuff in Grenada, and the only problem I have is that we don't have a good negotiating team in that government. They don't know how to sit around the table and negotiate, get the best. And I'm afraid that they might get something for the pocket or to fuel their re-election, and not for the benefit of the people. I don't see them as being very, these Grenadians and all this Chester Humphrey and all these guys who are talking. They hate America because they hate. They are only remnants from the revolution. The Peter David and the Chester Humphrey and even that guy Brad. These are remnants from the revolution who always have a hate for America. I think if I have to vote, I will vote yes. With get that satellite in the airport and give us something tangible in return. Good night, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, caller. That's indeed 1473-440-7377. That is the number for you to call and get onto the inside of tonight's program. Yeah, well, talking about transit, the NNP was the transparent government. So NNP would give you on a weekly basis information. Not wait until months after, because we're in the month of October and you're now hearing about something that the government should have told everybody was on the table since August, that you're now finding out about it. And yet still they try to claim that they're more transparent than the New National Party. Joke they making. Joke they making. Yeah. 1473-440-7377. That is the number for you to call and get onto the inside. We have a caller online. Hello, good night.
Hey, good night, brother Sheldon. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, man. You go right ahead.
Yeah, brother Sheldon. I listened to the clip of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister should be ashamed talking about a request made to the government since in August. Right? Since in August. And brother Sheldon, when the Prime Minister speaking, if that request was not leaked, right, by some media, they would not know nothing about that. They would not know about it. And he talking about security. I think like that, you trying to keep it, you don't want the public to know, you don't want the people to know. When it is come to you, and that's something as important as that, the public have to know. The public have to know. You can't have something like about security and you're hiding the information from the Grenadian people. But I said, I was soldier, I work security work. And the better the information come out to the people of the country, is better for them. When you're hiding information from people, it's not good. And brother, I want to say again, brother, as we traverse through the constituency, people bawling. I never hear people cry bawl so, especially the poor, the young people, brother Sheldon. When you travel through the constituency, young people crying out they can't get work. Some of them crying out, they say they have business idea, they want to invest. And I'll remind them about what NNP had in plan for them, where they could have gone to Grenada Development Bank and get a loan to invest whatever business they have to invest. But right, the bank, the Grenada Development Bank comes now like the government bank, where ministers go in there and the friend go there to get money. And then young people crying out they cannot get work to. They have business idea, but no money. The poor people crying out again, but the cost of living, Sheldon. So then when they have a house but no water, no quarantine in the house, Brother Sheldon. Brother Sheldon thing hard. Everybody crying out in Great Carriacou Peter Matic. They say they never see things so. And as I always say to them, it doesn't matter the people, the government don't have money. The government don't care strap for money. They have. But they spend what they spend the money on. They spend the money on traveling. They spend the money on paying up people who owe before they become minister. They pay now they debt for them. And I obviously tell them again, Brother Sheldon, they are boasting and saying they're good and they set for life. Win or lose, they set. They have enough money to keep them there. Brother Sheldon, I want to say to the Grenadian people, headed by this Prime Minister, a Prime Minister that only see himself. He see money, he don't see people. But we, the Grenadian people, they will come back to you and tell them your support again to make them be more on your back while they're suffering. But, Grenadians, we deserve better. We deserve a leader that cares about us, a leader that knows what people go through, a leader that never forget where she came out from. And Brother Sheldon, I want to say to the Grenadian people again, get registered. Parents, encourage your young people, your children to get registered. With the age to register, encourage them to go out and vote out. This kind of people, this group of people that we have there, say that they run in our country. They run our country down and down in a first place, deeper and deeper every day. Grenada with a shining light, where people are not afraid to talk about Grenada, of the development that took place under the NDP administration. But right now, Grenada is not even afraid to talk about what is going on in the country, because nothing going on in the country good for the poor people of where can compete matter. Well, Sheldon, have a blessed night.
All right, thank you so very much. 14734407377. That is the number for you to call and get on the inside. Now, one of the callers mentioned a short while ago a poll findings by one Mr. Justin Pierre and his company, and I'll tell you this. One, always try to, within your mind, ask yourself the question, who pay for a poll when you have a poll that come out? That's the first thing. Regardless of what the results are, ask yourself, who pay for the poll? And what is the reason for them putting out the information regarding that poll? A poll is a snapshot of what something looks like right now. Not what it looks like tomorrow. Not what it looks like next week. Not what it looks like in December or January or next year or the year after that. It's a snapshot of what it looks like exactly at the point in time that poll is taken. I'm saying this to say to you, don't go listening to these people and hearing, oh, we winning this and we winning that, and not go out there and do the work to make it a reality. Don't become complacent because you're hearing, oh, this person say you're only winning how much seat, and this person say you're winning this amount of seat and you're winning by this, and this person winning and that person winning. Hear that and go and play your lineman. Hear that and play that you're going and take a rest. You ain't bothering this week because all you had them. You hang the jack. You had them where you want them. Stay there and feel it so people does win election. Stay there and don't go and canvass your list. The new list came out recently. Did you all go over the list to see who are the new people registered and so on? Did you all go as a group in your constituency branch and put a face to every single name on that voters list to make sure that people aren't being pushed into your constituency to give you a representative that the majority are real people who from that constituency do not want? Are you aware that there may be that taking place right now? Have you contacted the constituency representative of the New National Party for your area? And have you had a conversation with them? Have you asked to help? Even if you cannot go door to door canvassing, you might be able to phone. Even if you can't do that, you might be able to help with the cold canvas. You might be able to help with some other aspects of the campaign. So don't look at any document anybody put out, because you don't know and I don't know who put out the document. So we can't go and say that is the reality. That is the reality when that document was put together. Yes, it might give you a good feeling. Take that good feeling and do the work. Don't take that good feeling and say we win already. Take that good feeling and do the work. Because while you're getting the good feeling, other people might be watching it and saying, no, we can't afford to lose what we have. We have to redouble our efforts and get out there and work. And you saying, well, we have them hooked already, we ain't need to work as hard. Don't fall for it. Do the work. You want me to define what the work is? The work is making sure that you, before the end of this month, the 10th month of the year 2025, that before the end of this month, that you ensure that you talk to and encourage 10 new people who otherwise may not have voted for the new National Party to vote and support the new National Party. That is your responsibility, to make sure that you, and I'm trying to get this call, I don't know what is happening here. I don't know what is taking place there. Let me see if they will call back. Call back. Yeah. It is your responsibility to speak to 10 people. If you could speak to more, speak to them. But I'm giving you a limit now. Well, not a limit, a bottom limit of 10 people that you need to speak to and get them to do the work. Yeah, get them to come out election day and vote for the new National Party. Everybody. We have how much people here on the program tonight? 1 minute, caller. I'm seeing close to 1,000 here, and we know over 100 there. So if everybody speak to 10 people and encourage 10 people to come out and vote for the new National Party, it's no way to beating us. We have a caller online. Go ahead, caller.
Sheldon, good night.
Good night, my dear.
Sheldon, Sheldon, listening to the Prime Minister saying that the request was made since in August, we're in October, 2 months ago, and Grenadians just hearing about that. You see the deceitfulness in the Prime Minister. I am wondering now, all his supporters, his surrogates that are ranting and raving on social media, I'm wondering what they're saying now. I am wondering what they're saying now, hearing him saying since October the request was being made. They know everything about NMP. They know everything about NMP. But you know what? His reply to that request will send shockwaves to them. I hope they know the hospital isn't stocked with enough medication. I hope they know that, because let us await what the reply would be. Sheldon, have a good night.
All right, my dear. 14734407377. That is the number for you to call and get on to the inside of tonight's program. Yeah, do not be distracted by these polls and poll releasing and so on. Listen, they call you, you want to participate in a poll, nothing is wrong with that. Yeah, nothing is wrong with that. Somebody call you, they say they would like you, you don't know who it is calling. Next thing is your own party. Yeah, you don't know who, so participate, no problem with that. But at the end of the day, don't take the poll findings that you're hearing about in October of 2025 and take that as the reality by November of 2025. No, do your work. Don't become complacent. Don't be distracted from the job at hand. Everybody, find 10. Everybody find 10. If only the people listening to tonight's program, if only every one of you were to find 10 people and bring them home to the home of the new National Party to ensure that on election day you phone these people, you speak to these people. If you are to organize to transport these people, but get each and every one of them to come out on election day. Once they are registered voters, to get them to come out and vote for the new National Party. We have a caller online. Hello.
Good night, Sheldon.
Good night, caller.
Good night to the trial and state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and especially the other side who are listening, because I know that they're listening, and I want to make sure that I get a listening ear from them tonight, including members of our party, which is the New National Party. I listened to a Facebook rant this afternoon, and a specific individual, a female who seems to be living in the diaspora, was very much up in arm about the questions about the question asked about housing to the Prime Minister on his so-called program that he has on a Tuesday. And it baffles me as to where or which part of the world these individuals are living and where their conscience are. As old people normally say, it seems that dog eat their conscience. Hurricane Beryl would have passed over a year and something, and what we're noticing that there are persons on the island of Carriacou who are receiving government assistance for building back their homes. And there are persons who cannot afford, they have not gotten any sort of assistance. Some of them, they cannot face the lumber store or the hardware store because government has not been paying the bills, far as I understand. And in some cases, they're sending these persons to the mainland where it's a challenge for them getting the material up to Carriacou and so on, or getting anything at all, not even a nail to start any form of work, and they're left to the element. And we know we have a number of things passing. We have the tropical storms, we have the not tropical storm, but tropical wave, and when that comes, it comes with wind, it comes with rain. And there are persons who are also disabled living in the tri-island state, and they have been subdued to the elements. So when persons in the diaspora want to run on Facebook because they think that they have a voice, I want to tell them, sit down in a corner and at least know what's happening first before they engage them out. Think first before they put them out there, because that's why they get bashing. So when people try to correct them.
Let me get something clear from you, my brother. So somebody is upset that the PM was asked questions about housing?
About housing, and they're talking about persons who when they get the houses, they need to do a proper investigation. That is something that has been there and should be there, and far as I understand from my investigation, that has been tossed out in the back door because the government is bent on the high level of corruption, and whenever persons speak out about it, they tend to victimize them, they tend to bully them. A lot of them living in the diaspora who has not even built a house on their own, or even bought a house on their own, or where some of them, they're not even interested in paying their landlords the rent when the month comes. And it is so far from a crime.
I ain't going down that road with you now, brother.
Well, we have to speak facts, and when they intend to go out there to tell lies to the people, we have to go in depth so people could understand, because what I have been hearing is more or less, and I've been hearing it on your program, when a specific individual would have called in, you could hear that they're very disillusional. The things that they have been lied and told, that they come together in a group, as Mr. Pierce said, they meet in the lab to manufacture lies. and to toss it out there without a conscience. I don't know if these people really have a soul, and I know that to add, I know the NMP is talking about rescuing the 2.0, but it's like rescuing the soul of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, apart from just rescuing them from all the high level of victimization and so on that's going on, and the disparity. There's unfair sharing of the national pie when it comes to that. Carriacou and Petit Martinique is just a village in Grenada, and I said it before. It's a village in their village. If you put both of them together based on the square mileage, they're considered probably part of St. Andrews. And you telling me that this government would have gotten so much money through the craft and would have wasted it, and you cannot hear the real truth about what this money has been, what was done with this money. They're trying to give people the impression that it was put into other sectors of the economy, but we're not seeing it. And if we're not seeing it, where did it go? Did it blow with burial? Probably burial came back as a nightmare and took it away. We would like to know what's going on with that money. And when they intend to build houses, there are a number of persons who are physically challenged, and there are persons who are also disabled. They're not able-bodied like me and you, and they cannot afford to go out there and work to even buy a nail to build a house. So I want to know how fast that has been done, and we see some persons who getting again, and some persons who never had whatsoever are getting. So my thing is, didn't this person have intention to build at all? They're young, they're able to build. Some persons in a family would have gotten 2 and 3 houses. So I would like the minister to come clean together with his leader, the prime minister. The prime minister oversees his cabinet, and these are pertinent questions that I want the members or supporters to ask their leaders, than being on Facebook ranting and making obscure posts or live just for likes and clout. This does not run country. This is not how a country is run. I'm not saying things may not, happen.
My brother, I'm a bit different. Too widespread. I'm a bit different to you. When I'm scrolling through social media, I bounce up lives that some people are doing, and I just scroll right past it because there's nothing here. There's nothing to learn there. There's individuals who are not going to be making any sense. I just scroll past it. I'm not going to stop and then go under the live and say nonsense. I'm not going to damage my brain cells listening to them. I need my brain cells. At my age, I need my brain cells. I have to protect everyone that I have. I can't be losing them listening to some of these people. Brother man, you high your belly?
Well, it's true, but what happens is I feel very empathetic for the persons who have to listen to those garbage, because at the end of the day, if they don't know, we have a right, those of us who are educated. And as I say, we are two different people. I come from a background where I love to share knowledge and information. Mm-hmm. And the same song is going to be sung in the morning on Cockroach Show, and then it's going to be sung probably on Thursday on the next one where the characters meet on a radio station up in Carriacou.
Tweedledee, tweedledum, and the bum?
And the bum. That's exactly. And then people tend to say, okay, as one of the ministers, the one in the South, say, if something is said, if people hear it 3 and 4 times, then they believe that it's a fact. But people, please be guided accordingly. Please do not just take things for granted when you hear these people open their mouth to say anything. First of all, they came there on lies, and they would leave there on lies. So if you allow yourself to fall into the traps, then it will be your fault. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Thank you so very much, right. Caller.
Okay, good night.
Well, what I'm trying to figure out is, why should somebody be upset if the Prime Minister is questioned in relation to housing? We know that the NDC administration, they could scream it from the mountaintops as much as they want. They have been a failure in relation to housing. Yeah? They have been a failure. Had it not been for Hurricane Beryl, these people could not talk about a single house that they built. Project 500. They built the model houses. How many families living in Project? Okay. As of today, the 21st day of the 10th month 2025, now is approximately 3.33 years after, or 3 years, 3 months, 28 days after the general election, give or take a few hours after the general election. Right. How many Grenadians are living in Project 500 houses right now? At this stage, we're supposed to be talking about at least 1,500 homes complete. How many Grenadians are living in Project 500 houses right now? How many Grenadians will be living in Project 500 houses by the end of this year? Ask them that question. Let them answer that. Because they give you the impression that, oh, they're doing Project 500. And so, yes, they have done the houses, what the houses would look like. Some look okay, some, yeah. But they have done what the houses would look like. They have not started. And what is the methodology for people to be able to attain one of those houses? Are those houses within the reach of the vulnerable people who they may have land, they may have access to land, they may even have deed and title to a piece of land, but they don't have the finances to be able to buy a house? And the reason that they're living in the conditions they're living in right now is because they don't have the finances to go in the credit union or go in the bank and get a loan to go and build a house or to go and buy a house. That is the reason they're living in the situation. Is Project 500 going to cover these people, and if so, how? So when they go out there and they're talking about these things as though these things are massive achievements and all kind of thing, this government has been the biggest failure ever. The biggest failure ever. This government, the NDC government of Grenada at this point in time. I thought the NDC between 2008 and 2013 was bad. But Papayo, there was joke compared to this one. This government is way worse than the Tillman Thomas and Tillman Thomas administration was bad, eh? Them fellas, remember them fellas and them, they tax the dead, you know, you have to pay VAT for your cough every. Them fellas, they tax down to the dead and all. Yeah? That same Tillman Thomas administration. But now, you have a situation with a government that is way worse than them. Because they tax the living daylights out of the living. So they increase your electricity tax, they increase your water rate. Yeah? Your food prices just going up and up and up and up and up. And then they're saying they do so much for you. They lying and say, oh, we did pension. They did not do pension. For them to qualify to do pension, their political leader is a lawyer. He ever went to any of the unions and said, let me represent you all in relation to the pension case? No, he did not. He was representing the rich people in our country against the poor and vulnerable people that was fighting for their rights. He was one of those fighting to keep their rights away from them. And that ain't no joke. That ain't no false statement. That is a statement of fact. And anyone who has a modicum of ability to go on the internet can go and search and find the various cases where he was fighting against workers, the poor and vulnerable workers he so claims to love right now, where he was fighting against them. He need the vote now, so he plainly like them. That is a fact. You go and ask Miss Williams from Calabash with the Calabash Hotel issue. Ask the people who used to work down in SGU. Ask people that used to work in Grenlec. Ask them who was the lawyer. So to come and say that's how they solve pension. Solve what pension issue? The new National Party did not appeal the judgment. The new National Party are the ones that put the money together to be able to pay the judgment. Their methodology for paying the judgment would have been different to the methodology used by the NDC. But at the end of the day, it would have ensured that everybody, because it's a court order, it's not Deacon Mitchell walk in the office and find, well, oh gosh, well, this pension thing, and we have to pay this pension thing, and you know what? The other side wasn't going and pay it, and I go pay it. That was not the case. And anyone that's telling that to you is either lying or delusional. And they must be addressed as such. You either have to tell them you're lying or you're delusional because you know it's not true, but you want to try to make me believe that it is true. There was a court judgment. If Windy, God bless his soul, had still been alive and run and win, and he had formed the government and become the prime minister, you still had to pay. No matter who it was, you had to pay. So for them to give the impression that they were the ones that come in and we solve our pension issue, that's a slap in the face of every union. That's a slap in the face of the government negotiating team. That's a slap in the face of the workers who put their name on the legal documents to take the government to court in relation to the pension issue. That's a slap in their face. When one of the people who has been anti-worker, not one of them in that organization, could say that they had a part to play in what took place with pension reform and what took place with the pension issue. None of them can say that they had anything to do with it. But they come talking about that as some sort of achievement. Not a single Grenadian individual or family, maybe Grenadian mosquitoes are the only thing that possibly living in the Project 500 houses. Not a man, woman or child living in any of those houses, unless a vagrant may break in one and take a night rest. Nobody is living in those houses. That ain't no achievement. You build model houses. So you built it up to show this is what we could do. So don't try to sell that to people. So when people ask about housing, because there's a need for housing. And if you want to say that between 2004 and the present time, that housing, NNP didn't do nothing in housing, all you hire who was the housing minister for the longest period of time between that period is number 10. The same person that all you end up with on all your side was the minister of housing that come and saying about who had tarpaulin on the roof. The person who was the housing minister, who had that responsibility, is the one come talking that nonsense. So let's get it clear. When it comes to issues as housing and pension and so on, this present NDC administration has been weighed, measured and found seriously wanting. When it comes to infrastructure, ask the people who live in with the Cliff Road project going on if the NDC government is doing a good job. Ask the bus drivers who ply the eastern coast of the island if the NDC government is doing a good job. And ask them to give an honest opinion, because some of them know it bad. They're suffering. They're grinding their teeth when they're sleeping in the night. They're grinding their teeth down till they get flat. But they refuse to admit that the government doing stupidness. That is the reality. Folks, that's all the time we have for Talking Points tonight. Remember, the meeting taking place tomorrow night. That's going to be taking place out there at the St. George Methodist School in the town of St. George. And yes, it will be streamed live, so you could look out for the live on Talking Points, especially those who are out of the island. You can look forward to that on Talking Points. And on the New National Party YouTube and Facebook pages, you'll also find it there. All right. So that's it. My name is Sheldon Scott. Do enjoy the rest of your night tonight. And in whatever you say and do it safe and secure. I want to be speaking to and with you, not about you. We'll be back. I'll be back with you on Thursday. Talking Points will be on tomorrow night with the meeting. But I will be back with you on Thursday, God's willing. Do enjoy the rest of your night tonight.
In my Father's house, there are many mansions.